but what about me? What about me taking care of my family? And, the fact that I put my whole life into this, I don't have no other skills. I ain't go to college, like I make music. That's my skill, So it's like they don't really think about the repercussions of that goes on, Like I'm working with a nigga that literally is about to change my life, even though, I was in my horrible publishing situation with Tricky. So I never got a publishing check off of any Drake songs.
Wait. You never got a publishing check off of any Drake song?
No. I never got a single publishing check off any songs.
Yeah, we back. Now today, man, we're going to talk about songwriter Quentin Miller. Says he never got paid a penny. He never got paid a dime or a nickel, a dollar from any of the work that he did writing songs for Drake, man. Now this is a story that we got to get into it, man. Now I remember when this controversy came out, right? I remember when it came out that Drake did not write his own raps. Let me tell you, man, the position that I took, I was kind of, as an MC myself, as a rapper myself, as a songwriter myself, y'all already know that little song that plays at the end of each one of my videos, that is me. I wrote that came off the top of my head. Listen, that was all me. But listen, as a rapper myself, as a songwriter myself, as someone who's written songs for other people, man, when it came out that Drake did not write his own songs, not only was I blown away, because rap, unlike different art forms, is way different than, for example, R&B or any other genre of music where it doesn't really matter who wrote the song. It's all about creating the best product. It's all about creating the best experience for the listener, right? But poetry, rap music, songwriting in that arena, in that genre, is different because it's kind of an autobiographical experience. The reason why rappers have fans is because their audience attaches themselves to the lyrics, right? You think that this is the person writing the music, they're telling their story from their point of view, right? So when it came out that Drake had a whole laboratory of different unknown musicians sitting in a studio at all hours of the night, pumping out music for Drake and sending him emails of different rough drafts, different reference tracks that he's gonna come back and make a hit with, I felt away back then. And I pretty much knocked Drake off my list of MCs that I could respect their pen game, right? Their penmanship. I couldn't really respect the penmanship after I knew that you had a bunch of dudes locked up in the studio cooking up hit records for you. Anybody can make a hit record if you have talented MCs, talented musicians from all over the United States, all over the world, cooking up their best work for you in hopes of maybe that track getting chosen to go to the top, go to number one. And that album that I believe Quentin Miller worked on, I believe that was when Drake dropped the album by the name of If You're Reading This, It's Too Late, right? That album had so many hits on it, bro. You don't even understand, bro. I think that album pretty much gave Drake another 3 to 4 years on top, right? That album had tracks such as 10 bands, 20 bands, 100 bands. Yo, if you remember that track, if you remember that, man, listen, bro, you already know. That album also had tracks such as Legend, when Drake was like, if I die, I'm a legend. That also had tracks such as Energy. Oh, they trying to take me for my energy. And then they had No Telling. It had Know Yourself. It had Six God. It had Madonna. It had Preach featuring Party Next Door. It had Six Man. It had You and the Six. It had 6 p.m. in New York. Bro, let me tell you, man. And Quentin Miller had songwriting credits all over that album, especially on some of the best songs, especially on some of the biggest hit records that went crazy that year. But listen, man, for the contribution that Quentin Miller gave to Drake, Quentin Miller right now should be a millionaire. He should be a millionaire black man with no worries in the world, no cares in the world. Not only that, he should be high in demand. And I really feel bad for Quentin Miller because coming out with this statement where he said he never made a red cent off of any of these legendary tracks that he made for Drake. On top of that, the worst part about it, when it became exposed that he was the genius, when he was the songwriter behind the star, when he was the one really cooking up the greatness, he was no longer in demand, right? People didn't really come to him for the tracks. People didn't really come to him for work. He pretty much got blackballed from the industry. Because one thing you got to know as a songwriter, especially when you cooking up lyrics for a rapper whose image is about being, one of the best rappers on the planet, people did not come to him because that secret was out, right? The secret was out. Your credibility is shot now. People are going to think that. And it wasn't even him that exposed it. It was that time. Remember when Drake was beefing with Meek Mill? Meek Mill was the one that exposed the fact that, bro, you don't even write your raps. And Meek Mill, listen, if people had credibility, if people were like me, man, Drake's career should have ended at that point. When it became exposed that he was not writing his own music, that should have been the death blow that Meek Mill gave to Drake. But guess what? After that, Drake became more powerful. He became more popular, right? And in fact, in my opinion, I think that Drake pretty much introduced the fact that you could be a rapper and not write your own tracks, right? So it's no longer necessary to be a rapper and write your own tracks. You can pretty much still lay claim to being the best rapper in the game and not even write your own tracks. And I think at that point, the integrity of the craft pretty much ended at that moment, right? At that point, I remember looking back, I thought Drake was supposed to be a rap for Drake. It was supposed to be Drake was going to fall back into the R&B lane, singing to the ladies. He was no longer going to do the rap thing. Come to my surprise, man, Drake went harder with the rap afterwards, right? And in fact, that little rap battle between Drake and Meek Mill, people say that Drake won. How can you win a rap battle when it became exposed for a fact that you do not write all your own tracks, man? I don't understand how y'all let Drake get away with that. But listen, man, these days, I don't even really listen to rap anymore anyway, man. To be honest, y'all done turned me off amongst other things, right? The subject matter, I pretty much outgrew it. I can't really listen to a bunch of guys talking a bunch of nonsense about, oh, I got 1,500, weapons and I'm going to spin the block. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to listen to none of that nonsense, especially as a taxpaying citizen with bills to pay. I just don't listen to rap that much these days anyway, but I still make music. As you know, at the end of each video, the song that plays is my song. But man, let's talk about the fact that Quentin Miller said he did not get paid for a single dime for any of the work that he contributed to Drake's album back in the day. Now listen, bro, I have to put some of the accountability on you because I understand as a young artist, if Drake reaches out to you to collaborate, to pretty much show love to your craft and also want to bring you on a team to be a songwriter, that shows. I could understand how as a young man you would be excited, like, man, Drake, man, one of the biggest artists on the planet, one of the superstars of the industry is reaching out to me for my pen, for my creative genius. I could understand how just being around Drake in your mind was enough payment, right? In fact, because that's how a lot of the celebrities kind of do it, man. They pretty much try to scam you just by giving you the privilege of being around them and working with them. They think that giving you exposure in that way, you can pretty much flip that into a lavish lifestyle on your own, right? In my opinion, I guess by becoming a prominent songwriter in the industry, having that credit under your belt, other people will come to you for work. But unfortunately for Quentin Miller, he got caught up in the drama with the Drake beef, with the Meek Mill beef, and it became exposed that he was the songwriter behind Drake's album. That pretty much blackballed him from the industry entirely, right? Because people want to work with Drake. People want to collaborate with Drake. So if they think that working with Quentin Miller is going to get in the way of maybe a future collaboration with Drake, they're not going to work with Quentin Miller. And because of that, Quentin Miller, I believe he had to go back working a regular job, working a regular job like a regular citizen, which is tragic because if you got the talent to cook up legendary records like he did on Drake's album, if you're reading this, It's Too Late, and to go back to just being a regular civilian and not getting any payment for that, bro, do you know what that's called when you do work for somebody and you don't get paid? Listen, we know what that's called, right? Now, I'm not going to say that Drake had anybody on a plantation, but listen, bro, that's foul. That's foul. And Drake, let me tell you, Quentin Miller should be a millionaire because that album, you generated multiple millions off that album, not just from the sales, not just from the merchandise, not just from the touring, not just from the licensing, not just from the streaming, but just overall in general. That was a hit album. That was an album that gave you a new wind of life, right? I remember during that time, Drake's career was kind of stalled. You know what I mean? Drake's career had reached a plateau, but with that album, it was like a surprise release that gave him a new breath of fresh air. That gave him an extended 3 to 4 or 5 years onto his run. And for that alone, you got to show love to Quentin Miller for that, bro. He gave you a new life. He breathed life into you, bro, at a time where you were kind of at a crossroads, at a plateau. But at the same time, Quentin Miller, bro, you should have negotiated your contract, bro. You should have negotiated some type of deal where, listen, I'll play the background or get paid up front. Get paid up front, or you should have had your lawyers on deck. But I understand, like he said, he didn't go to college, right? He was just a regular guy, probably just making music in his home studio, minding his business. I don't know how he got in contact with Drake. I don't really know the backstory around that. But bro, come on, man. I don't even know what to say. You should be a multi-millionaire right now. You should be a multi-millionaire with no care in the world, bro. Just lamping in your mansion, doing your thing, living off the past publishing, living off the checks that you made off the music that you wrote for Drake, man. Come on, man. How do you write for one of the biggest artists of all time, not just in the world, but all time, and not get paid a dime, bro. Not get paid a single dime. Come on, man. What are they doing to y'all in the industry, bro? What are they doing to y'all in the industry? Now, me, if I would have had that opportunity to work for Drake, I'm not gonna lie, bro. If I could put myself in his shoes, I don't know what age he was. He was probably in his early 20s. In my early 20s, I would have probably made the same mistake. I would have probably just been excited to get flown out by Drake, get in the studio with Drake's producers, and just show him what I can do, right? Because in the industry, that's kind of what it is. You pretty much have to show and prove. You pretty much have to pay your dues. You can't really come in the door in the music industry and be like, listen, I want, quarter milli up front. Because there are so many artists that are thirsty, that are hungry to get that shot, to get that opportunity. They'll work for free. So, it's kind of like cheap labor, right? So if somebody over here willing to work for the cheap labor and you over here trying to demand the top dollar, listen, I could understand how you might have just been like, listen, I'll get paid later, man. I'm just excited to just be in the studio with Drake. And I could understand how a lot of young musicians, they get scammed with that opportunity. They get scammed with that line of thinking. But listen, let this be a lesson for all musicians, any songwriters, any business people, period. Even if you're not in the music industry, listen, make sure you have your paperwork on deck. Make sure you have your lawyers on deck. Make sure the deal is beneficial for you as well as the other party, right? Because you yourself, you got a family to feed. You have a future to establish. You have a foundation that you have to set for yourself and your family. And you cannot feed your family off the fact that, oh, I was in the studio with Drake 7 years ago. You can't really convert that to cash, right? You need the real cash money in your hand. You need the check in the bank account, right? So listen, man, I really feel bad for the homie because I know the amount of money that Drake generated with those tracks, man. Drake generated multiple millions of dollars, and he's gonna be generating money off those records until the day that he dies, man. Until the day he's gone, those records are going to continue to accumulate capital, bro. So overall, this is a tragic story, a tragic, another tragic tale in the music industry of how, the up and coming little guy, he pretty much gets the short end of the stick, which is common, right? Even Drake, when he came in the game, Drake had to get the short end of the stick. When you already understand, when Drake came in the game, he was signed to Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne was signed to Birdman. Birdman was signed to Universal, right? So Drake was signed to a guy who signed to another guy who signed to another guy who signed to another guy, right? So imagine when Drake came in the game, Drake was also earning pennies, but because Drake was such a vital asset, Drake was like an NBA all-star in the music industry, he came back around to renegotiate the contract, right? But unfortunately, Quentin Miller never got the opportunity to renegotiate his contract because he got caught up in the scandal when it got exposed that Drake didn't write his raps, and he got blackballed from the industry. So he never got an opportunity to really spread his wings, come back, renegotiate, and really make money for himself and his family. And it's a tragic story, a tragic situation. I feel bad for the homie. I hope he can bounce back. I know he got the talent, but the thing is though, Drake got the star power. I listen to some of Quentin Miller's music, and even though he has the pen game on point, listen, bro, dude is an excellent songwriter. In terms of putting together the verses, the melodies, the arrangement, he got it. But in terms of his delivery, in terms of how he, gets up on a track, I don't really think he has that star power to be a performer, to be a powerful solo artist. I think that his role should be the songwriter, and that's fine, bro. Everybody is not the star. Even Michael Jackson had songwriters, but Michael Jackson, he was the star. You know what I mean? Michael Jackson had the presence to get up in the studio and cook up a hit track, even though he was not the one that wrote the song. And Michael Jackson's songwriters did not have the star power that he had, right? If you listen to some of the reference tracks that Michael Jackson's songwriters gave to him, and then you listen to the final track that Michael went into the studio and recorded, it's like night and day. You could tell why they were the songwriter and he was the song performer. So listen, man, that's the game. That's the music industry. Listen, that's why you got to stand on your own, man. You are essentially an employee for Drake with no paperwork. You had no backing by the state. You were working off the book. So Drake could pretty much pay you whatever he wanted to pay you. And you didn't really negotiate because you were just excited to be in the room with one of the biggest artists. And I can understand that mistake that you made as a young up and coming musician. That is a common mistake that many artists before you have made and many artists after you will also make, right? Listen, it's sad, but that's why you got to have your paperwork on deck. That's why you got to have your business in order, man. Listen, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. And hopefully you can bounce back. You got the talent. You got the pen game, man. But hey, man, like, share, subscribe, Cash App in the description. It's your boy Neferkari Desaline back in the building. Yes, indeed. And I'm gone. Peace.
Reincarnated, I'm back in original fashion. I left
left on a horse and came back in the ass, and I left with abundance and came back to famine. We used to be pyramids, now we be rapping. Look how the mighty have fallen. Used to be running, now we be walking. When you be cooning, that's when they applauded. Selling your soul, your sons and your daughter. Gotta come up in this shit, they stuck in the mix. Really, my heart it be breaking. That's why I'm stacking that paper and handle my business. Pass it down in generation. Talking about money and power and building a nation. That's a deadly combination. Never be watching the TV, they pushing agendas, falsifying information. Know they got malice intentions. Step in the room and I'm feeling the tension. Enemy watching me, blocking my vision. Paying for the check cause I need my redemption. Building my kingdom, I need it protected. Ready for war like a young Money Congo. Never decided the team is the motto. Up in the crib and I'm whipping up waffles. Up in the crib and I'm smoking gelato. I'm chilling, I'm taking my pain and make it ambition. I'm blessed by the gods, but I ain't religious. I came for the power, they came for the bitch. They making no hourly wage, I got business. This shit is an art, and they can never be taught. Selling my soul, I can never be bought. Play with my money, I see you ain't caught. Run to the check and I do it for sport. Babylon falling, I go to the source. Packing my luggage and go overseas. Shorty be with me and she so elite. Shorty be chocolate, I'm calling her Hershey. Secret intelligence probably gon' murk me. Don't fuck with brands, cause nigga I'm Haitian. Say the wrong shit and you're smacking their faces.